Has the Australian dollar bottomed against the Canadian dollar? That's the question we're going to answer in today's video. Hi everyone, my name is Justin Bennett with Daily Price Action, and in today's video we're going to talk about the Aussie CAD. I'm going to show you some key levels I'm watching as well as one critical level that buyers need to take out in order to send the pair higher. Let's get started right now. A quick disclaimer that today's video is for educational purposes only. All views are my opinion and are not intended as investment advice. Forex is a high reward, high risk business, and you should not trade with borrowed money or money you cannot afford to lose. See the description of this video for the full disclaimer. Before we get started, be sure to hit that subscribe button below and also click the bell icon so you get notified every time I post these videos. So I want to start today's video by saying that the markets overall have been pretty slow lately. So it's been hard to find follow through on various currency pairs. And I want to say that because today's video is more about what I'm watching versus what I'm doing. So this is not something to say that I'm either bullish or bearish on a market. It is just something that I'm watching, and that's usually the case, but it's especially the case with a pair like the Australian dollar versus the Canadian dollar. And the reason I say that is because we still have this sideways movement. So notice how the pair has moved lower over time, but since it started to bottom out down here, we have this sideways price action that is not something I want to trade. Notice too how choppy it has been. So those trying to trade this type of price action are going to likely get chopped up, and that's not something I want to do. I want to catch moves like this, or even back here when the pair bottomed out, this kind of move right here that was over 600 pips, that's the kind of move I want to catch. So with that in mind, what could turn the Australian dollar versus the Canadian dollar higher? And if you've watched some of my recent videos, you know that I like to spot these inverse head and shoulders patterns. And this one is not nearly as clean as the one that we saw on the New Zealand dollar versus the USD. However, we still have this left shoulder over here, the head, and a possible right shoulder. Now, the key question here is whether or not this is going to serve as a low for the right shoulder, or we're going to see a rotation even lower, perhaps back down here to some of these left shoulder lows. Okay, so that's the question right now. We don't know yet if this low, this swing low right here, is confirmed as a low. Again, we could see the pair trend even lower still before we get another push higher. However, I do like the fact that this pattern has started to form after this extended move lower. So notice how we have these lower highs and we also have lower lows throughout this time. However, since it came down here, this low right here, since that time, we have started to see this downtrend stall out a little bit and start to carve this potential bottoming pattern. So if I just draw a level right through the middle of this trend, notice how recently we've started to kind of flatline down here. So this is the start of what could be a bottoming pattern. But buyers still have work to do because we need to see a daily close above that neckline up around 9100 in order to confirm this potential bullish reversal pattern. So just to be clear, I am not bullish this pair, but I'm also not bearish at the moment. I'm neutral given the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, the pair is just moving sideways right now. And furthermore, the long-term downtrend here is still intact. So if we go out to a weekly time frame, notice how this downtrend is very much intact. But one key thing about moves like this is that even though this longer-term downtrend is intact, you still get these corrective rallies like this that move for several hundred pips. Again, this one back here was over 600 pips. So just because the pair is in this downtrend does not mean that you don't get significant reversals along the way. For now though, this shorter term downtrend right here is still intact. So again, we have these lower highs and these lower lows. Now, this was also a lower high and this was a lower low. But just like I drew out, notice how we've started to bottom a little bit down here. And the same thing with this high. But this high right here was also lower than this one. So even though we've had some of these higher lows back through this area showing strength, we've still yet to have a higher high. So that's going to be key in order to send the pair higher. So that higher high is going to coincide with a daily close above this neckline, which would also then confirm this potential inverse head and shoulders. But until that happens, the AUDCAD is likely to remain under pressure, and any retest of this neckline up around 9100 will likely attract sellers. So it's going to act as resistance until we see that daily close above it. So I do want to highlight that and also reiterate the fact that I am not bullish the Australian dollar versus the Canadian dollar, not until we see a close above that neckline. So until then, this is a pair in consolidation and it's not something I want to trade. If we do see the pair close above that neckline though, we could then see a push up into that 92.30 area. So notice how it acted as support back here. It then closed below it and 92.30 started to serve as resistance. Now, given the height of this pattern, which is about 300 pips, if we see a break above this neckline, it would put the measured objective somewhere up around 93.80. So notice how we have these highs through this area, and we also have several lows around 93.80. But again, it's going to take a daily close above this neckline in order to expose 92.30 and possibly 93.80. So this is just one for my watch list now, especially considering that it could take weeks or even months for this right shoulder to play out. So we could either see a pop higher next week or the week after, or we could see the pair chop around just like it did back here during this left shoulder, and it could even trend below this recent low down here. Furthermore, we could also see the pair take out the head of this pattern, which would negate it. So right now it's up in the air as far as where this thing goes, and I'm not interested in trading it though until we see a close above that neckline. I'm also not interested in selling even if we get a move below this low right here, just because the pair is still moving sideways. I don't want to trade within this consolidation. I prefer to trade a break higher and a move up into 92.30 if we do get that. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, leave your comment below, and be sure to subscribe to my channel. See you next time.